Welcome back to Wednesdays on the Pagan Perspective, and welcome to 2019. I'm your Wednesday host, Yeka, and this week we are reintroducing ourselves and talking about goals. So I'll start by reintroducing myself. I joined the channel in, I believe, January of 2012. So I've been with it for a while and started out as a substitute and then stepped on to the role as a full-time host. Was Thursday for a long time and Wednesday now. But basically, I go by Yeka, and I am a second generation pagan. I'm a non-theist, nature-based or nature-centered pagan. So what that means for me is that my practice is centered around my experience as an inseparable member of nature and trying to live in as fulfilling, joyful, and intentional way as possible within that context. So, what that ends up looking like for us, and I do have a family who's also pagan that I'm my partners and raising our children as well. And so what that looks like for us is really honoring and trying to be present with the seasons, with the processes of nature. We particularly find the great cycle, that of birth, life, growth, death, decay, regeneration, etc., to be very sacred. We center on that a lot, and our experiences in the in the weather and the seasons and the climate as animals, as earthlings, as part of this world, and then also to try and live as intentionally as possible within that and really take responsibility on a what one might call energetic level for ourselves and our action. So that's me. That's what I bring to the table here, and I will put a link somewhere up here in the cards to a video I did a few months ago talking about raising pagan children, which goes into a little bit about what our practices looked like recently. So the rest of the topic is talking about goals, and I'm taking that both as our mundane and sort of magical goals, although for me I like to try and integrate those as much as possible and see them as part of the same thing. But in 2017, at the end in November, I think, we did some videos talking about what our goals for 2018 were going to be. So I went back and I watched that video, and I'm sitting right back here, and it's kind of fun to watch it because in the future, watching it from the future, going, ooh, oh, you have no idea what's about to come. So 2018 was an incredible year for me. It was incredibly challenging and incredibly fruitful and a lot of growth. So I talked about 3 different sort of goals, and those were all integrated into my practice as a pagan, but in my general life as well. And those were all sort of themed around coming back out, kind of expanding back out, because I had my first child, my daughter, and she had kind of finally gotten to a point where I could have a little bit of independence from her again. She was or is, but at the time had kind of bloomed into toddlerhood and could be independent for me, could spend time with dad or could spend time with grandma or whatever. So I talked about wanting to really spend more time back out in the garden, back outside, which I had a hard time the previous year just because of having a very young child and being, heavily pregnant with her those previous years. And I also talked about some goals for my channel and some goals professionally. So I'm an independent ecologist, and I talked about wanting to take on some new clients and be out working in the field. So I'm a range and agroecologist, so taking measurements and really being a little bit more hands-on. So the garden thing worked out, actually, surprisingly. But let me step back. So what happened is I had 2 very welcome surprises. And the first of that was that we ended up finding the possibility, finding the opportunity to buy what we hope is our forever land. And so that's a huge process there. And the plan was there was a little cabin there, and I was going to fix it up because I'm kind of the handy one in the relationship, and I grew up on job sites and all of that. But then, as that process was happening, we found out that we were expecting our second child. So that, who is now he's 2 months now. So that really consumed the year for me, and I have pretty tough pregnancies. I get very sick, and so I was very sick for the beginning of the year. I missed quite a few videos because of that. I just was just not in a great place for the first trimester. Moving forward, I felt a lot better, but just was exhausted. And other parents of multiple children warned me that would happen, and I believed him. But it's different to experience it than like intellectually know it. It was just exhausting. But anyways, with the garden, my daughter needed to be outside. She needed the sun the um, and the dirt and all of that. And again, that video that I linked to talks a lot about our approach to that as parents, as pagan parents. So it's been a lot more time in the garden, and it ended up being a fantastic year that so much of what I grew just did fantastic. So we were overwhelmed with abundance. So that goal was met, and I want to move that goal into the future as well, although it may be a little bit limited because we will be working on the house or the property. In terms of the goals for my channel, I ended up sort of reevaluating that. I still want to really be present with YouTube, but I have been really mulling over what that role will be and which channel I will be focusing on in terms of I have a homestead channel that I want to kind of move a lot of my energy into, but continue to have my primary one that I've had for years, the Magic and Mundane, or Made of Yucca. And then the last goal didn't end up working out in the way that I hoped. So because of the pregnancy, I couldn't be out in the field. I couldn't bend down. I couldn't be doing that kind of thing that I wanted to be getting back into, that I had been able to do, pre-motherhood. However, I was able to do some online courses, some distance certifications, so that I could be in a better position to serve the clients that I do have, with the land stewards that I already am working with, and I was able to do a little bit with them, and to be more qualified for newer ones. And so I was able to do a little bit of networking as well. So I think that I'll be moving into the new year, in the years to come, in a much stronger, from a much better, more informed place. So I will be able to do more good work than I would have otherwise. So that's what happened with 2018. I just got knocked off my feet, and was not able to be quite as physical as I wanted. But 2019, we can't afford to be living in town and paying on our property, so we have got to buckle down and get moved there. So there's a tremendous amount of work. And what we have been doing the last couple months is really focusing in on what our values are. And it's been beautiful in that the celebrations of the seasons for us have really come into focus in a way that they really hadn't as independent adults before we had our family. But having the family has really helped to, as I said, bring that into focus and to make some of those celebrations, which facilitate the awareness and conscious of, more at the forefront. And that's been really positive for us. We've also been looking at what are our values as people, what do we want to support, and how can we do that. And that is very important for us in terms of honoring nature, because we don't want to be, hurting ourselves and the rest of our ecosystem. So we want to live in a way that because we believe that those things are sacred. So why would we want to hurt those? So how can we do that? And that has really been the focus for us, figuring out how we're going to make that work. How do we escape the rat race, which we have done to quite an extent, and that sort of thing. So this coming year, the focus is really going to be on nurturing the family, continuing that deepening of connection with our ecosystem, with the cycles, with the seasons, and and becoming part of moving to our property and becoming part of that land, not just people who live on the land, but part of the land. So that's my hope for the year. And I am excited to have another year with you. I'm very excited for the new substitutes which we will be bringing on this year. We still haven't finished selecting who it will be, but they will know soon, and you will know soon. So you'll get to meet them at the end of the month. And we've got some pretty interesting topics lined up, so I look forward to sharing them with you. And I would love to hear if you folks have goals that you are looking to work on this year, things from last year that you want to carry through, or that sort of thing. Let us know in the comments. And until next week, take care.